Yeah, hey everyone. So, as we've talked about the previous couple of topics as a part of this series, we kind of talked at a high level. Well, what is Linux? Why is it used? What are some of the differences between Windows and Linux at both an OS level and an application level, specifically running Boomi? So, for today's topic, I wanted to get a little bit more hands on, talk about some very, very fundamental commands you would use on your everyday Linux OS and specifically navigating to Boomi. So we'll talk about a couple of those items, why they're used, kind of the outputs explained, and items of that sort. So your first question may be, well, where am I right now? I understand folder structures, so I understand there's directories you can go into. I understand there's files. I may not understand how it works in Linux, but I do understand that concept. So, first item is just a command called pwd, present working directory, or print working directory. So typically out of the box, if you SSH into an instance, so by SSH, we'll go over a mock SSH into a server. But basically, this is the default landing place. It's the home and then username directory. I'll talk about that in a second. But if you're not familiar with what SSH is, it's secure shell. So think of it basically as a network protocol that allows you to take control over some sort of remote system over a network to perform a function of commands. So your question may be, well, what is home Ubuntu? I guess Ubuntu is my user. Correct. When I SSH into the instance, as you can see here, the current user I am is Ubuntu. So that's my user at, and then this at could be whatever uniquely identifies your server. So you can see here, this is a private DNS. You can private IP, public IP, and whatnot. Basically, whatever you have access to and whatever you SSH into, it's going to identify as that accordingly. So we printed our working directory. We explained that user. We'll talk more about users and items of that sort in a second. So let's say I just want all of this off my screen. I'm just going to type in the word clear. Great. So now I'm there. Um, Next item I wanted to cover is, well, what's in this current directory we're talking about? I know I'm in home Ubuntu, but what else is here? Like I'm so used to my GUI in Windows where I can just see everything. Well, you can just do that right through a command. So the command is ls. I'll talk about the specific of what to do here. So notice how there's a couple, we're not sure what they are. That's the reason for the parameter. So ls is just saying list. Um, what I prefer to use is ls with the parameters -al or the options. So A basically says show any hidden files or directory. So anything that starts with a dot there will be shown. And L means long list. So as you can see here, you may be a little bit confused with this output, and that's okay. We'll explain what's going on here. So with that, this first field right here, basically what that specifies is it a file or directory? So anything with a dash there means it's a file. Anything with the D is it's a directory. So as you can see here, all the directories are colored blue, which is pretty nice and easily identifiable. The next item, as you can see here, RWX, R blah X, R blah X. These are permissions. So with Linux, like any other operating system, you have users. Users can be parts of groups. You can have 1 to n users per group. And those specific users and groups have a distinct permission set. So the first R blank X, so RWX right here, there's three of them, as you can see: RWX, R blank X, R blank X. The first RWX is the permission set for the user that owns this file. So the user that owns the file, it's shown right here, Ubuntu. So it's user group. So what that means is the Ubuntu user can read, write, and execute this file or directory or whatever it is. The group is going to be the second set. So anyone as a part of this group. So the easiest way to think of something like this is, let's say I had an engineering group. So my group was called engineering. I had a user called Matt and I had a user called Mike. If Mike owns the file, here's the permission set of the first three, so RWX. Let's say I don't own the file, but I'm a part of that engineering group like I was talking about. I have this permission set, so the second one, so R blank X. The third set is anyone else. So anyone else that's not a part of that user and group, well, what can they do? We'll talk about changing permissions, changing users, adding users and whatnot, but just wanted you to get comfortable with this before we even got to that point. So as we mentioned before, user and group. So this field right here, it's not super important, but basically think of it as, oh, I'm sorry. So I was talking about the 4, 3, 1, 1, 2. So basically what that is saying is, well, how many directories are under the specific directory that, so as you can see here, there's a D directory. So if I went into this, we'll talk about how to do that in a sec, you would see there are 2 subsequent directories. So out of the box, there's typically usually 2. And what that means is this dot is the present working directory, and this dot dot means go back a directory. We'll talk about that in a second. No need to worry for right now. And then basically from there, it's just the size in bytes of the specific file. So as you can see here, I was doing some performance testing, so it's a big file. With that, we then have the last modified date and then the file name. Pretty self-explanatory. From there, your question may be, well, how do I navigate to different directories? So to go back a directory, like I talked about, it's called CD, change directory. So CD dot dot. I'm now back a directory. So instead of home Ubuntu, I am in home. So I want to go back into Ubuntu. CD. And what's pretty powerful is if you click your tab button, this is the only directory I can get into. So that's Ubuntu. And then from there, there's only dots. So just keep clicking tab and you can see what's available to you. So once I'm back here, as you can see, ls-al, let's say I wanted to go into one of these dot directories. So cd dot ssh. Notice how it says there's 2 directories under it, ls-al. Notice how the 2 directories are the current working directory and then the pass, so the one right behind that. And the permission sets associated with that and authorized keys, which we're not there yet, so don't worry about it for now. So that's what I wanted to cover today. And I hope everyone has a nice rest of your day. Thank you.